I'm just an ordinary girl, like you, like me. Alright, so this is a new series I'm starting called Bible Study No Bible, where I talk about things that are important. I think in the format I actually want to talk about these things, it would be a lot like Jesse Lee Peterson style. The old days where he used to do in the 90s. But or really more like his church services. But every conversation and by extension video you watch is an opportunity God wants you to look at yourself. All right, there's all types of things everybody want in this world, but nobody really asks what are we supposed to be doing, um, or how should we go about getting it? And God said to put Him first in everything you do, and He'll add the rest. His ways are simple and easy, and I don't think a lot of people really understand it. Even the people who watch Jesse or who goes to his church and he talks about it, and even Jesse himself, they don't really understand it. We're constantly growing and learning, and the best way to learn is through conversation, edifying each other. Um, so I really should have other people here with me, asking them the questions. I say a lot, huh? But when I for Bible study, no Bible, the plan is to always have a question on the topic I want to talk about, and it's always going to be related to something that matters, something important that is in the world today, how we're supposed to live our lives, um, etc. So, in my opinion, I think the first thing we all have to do is put God first. That's the reason the whole world is going to hell in a handbasket because we don't have any moral values, and uh, of course, you hear it from the youth, but like there's a 19-year-old woman, evil comes to the woman, that I talked to at work, and she's like, whoa. And this is a common thing. I feel like you'll hear it among what are the Gen Zs, I guess, the young people. If you need God to be a good person, then you're not a good person. I mean, nobody's a good person. Oh, nobody's a good person. The road to hell was paved with good intentions, but like, does that make you a bad person then? As long as you feel like you're a good person, that makes you a good person, even though the things, your outcomes, give you bad intentions, right? One example, the same 19-year-old female said she supports abortion because an 11-year-old girl got raped and she needs an abortion. Okay, but you're allowing every woman to kill babies in the womb over this. Like, what? What are you talking about? It's like they already have heartbeat bills and laws, like common sense stuff. It's like evil. You're helping evil right now. You know that. Like you're helping evil. It's like God don't want that. But okay, so I say this all because when I ask a question, if I'm doing the series like this, where it's just in a video format and somebody's gonna listen to this, do not just take what I say, right, and go like, oh, that makes sense. I agree, or that don't make sense. You're an idiot. It's like figure it out yourself first. Like, I wouldn't get my answer in my Bible study when I have real people in front of me. I'm not going to get my answer right away. I'm going to ask everybody there, like, have you even thought about this question? What's the answer? You can't answer it. Why can't you answer this, right? You should be able to answer these questions about yourself, right? About what you believe, um, all types of stuff. Like this is what God wants us to think about. What's good, or not even what's good or right, but like I don't know what's necessary and not. Maybe that's a better word for it. But the first question for the Bible study is, what is God? All right, what is God? Have you thought about this? Who asked you this question before? I'm sure a lot of people want to tell you what God is, but what is God? How do you know? Did you figure it out yourself? Okay. Think about it. Pause the video. Think about it. Don't just take my word for it either. Ask God to reveal it to you. All right? Use your eyes and look around at the people around you. What is God? And it's important. The question I bet you expected me to ask, right? Who is God? I didn't ask that. I did not ask that. What is he? All right? Like you can say, what is Sonny Waffles? He is a guy who just rants on the internet to nobody, right? Leading the Bible study, no Bible group. Okay, but what is God? Philosophy 101, all right, which I took Philosophy 101. I have a college degree, by the way, tells us that God is a omnipotent, omnipotent, and omnibenevolent. Meaning, he's all things. Most people would agree God is all powerful, all knowing, and all loving. Right? Most people will agree God is those things. So if you say, what is God? Somebody will tell you an all powerful, all knowing, and all loving being. That might be something, right? But then you gotta parse those things out. What does all those things mean? Right? If he's gonna be all those things, he can't be what you think he is. Period. Because if we're thinking about an all powerful, that's easy to comprehend, right? He can do whatever he wants. Like through acts of what looks like magic. Right? All knowing. He knows everything already. Alright? That's easy for people to understand. I think the part that people wrestle with the most is the all loving. Okay? God is all loving. When we think of love, most people, because they do serve their father, the devil, they think love is what we feel emotionally when you really, really, really like a person. Something like that. That's not love. But if you believe that feeling, right? Because love isn't a feeling. If you believe that feeling is love, then you would think, right? Putting yourself in God's shoes, if you were all knowing and all powerful, you wouldn't allow half the stuff Satan's getting away with on this earth. There's bad things happening all the time. Babies die. Alright? There's wars constantly. In Africa today, they're fighting a war in Ethiopia. Alright? Slavery probably wouldn't have been a thing. Alright? There's slavery in Africa today, by the way. So America's pretty great by comparison. But if he's going to be all three of those things, which he is, he can't be them based on what you think they mean. Alright? All powerful, all knowing, I'm not going to argue that. If you believe in God, I think those two things are pretty solid. I think where most people get it wrong is the all loving part. They don't understand what love is. And so they see things in the world, right? And because it doesn't fit their definition of all loving or what they think love is, they end up hating God, all right? Because they think God isn't, either he's not real or he's not doing his job or something, right? Because God is not showing love the way they want him to do it. And that means you're wrong because now you're trying to control God. What makes you think God has to do anything you tell him to do? He made you. All right. So, which means if you believe there is a God, you have to understand things you believe are wrong. Okay? So, if you're going to keep the belief in God, right? And keep our philosophy 101 definition, all powerful, all knowing, all loving, and ratify the fact that there's still very bad things in this world that God's letting happen, you need to understand to believe in God means you are wrong. Things you believe are wrong, fundamentally, right? Because that all-loving, omnibenevolent being is counteracting with this evil that we see in the world that's seemingly being able to go and do as it pleases freely on the world and to innocent people. All right. So to really believe in God, I think the first step is acknowledging the fact that you're wrong. There are things you don't know. And even things that you think you don't know what the outcome of those things will be. An excellent example is a video I watched today Jordan Peterson put up called Die Has to Die. DIE is an acronym for diversity, inclusion, and equity. All of these things that sound good on paper, but it is evil when you put it into practice. It is unfair and evil, right? It's it's socialism and communism at its finest. And Jordan Peterson explains it way better than I can right now. But this is this type of stuff we're dealing with. All right, you're making decisions for other people, which is wrong. That's just mean you want to control people, and controlling other people, that's evil. When you want to make people do what you want them to do, you're evil and you serve your father, the devil. That's what Satan wanted to do in heaven. If you know the story, he thought he could be God, meaning he wanted to go around telling people what to do. And he did that in the first story too, with Adam and Eve, which is why he is evil. Satan, the father of lies. All right, but we can expand on that in another episode on another day. All right, we're still trying to figure out what is God, right? But my main point there, if you're going to believe in God, you have to know things you believe are wrong, right? Things you fundamentally believe, they're wrong. Things you think are great, right? It's wrong. Right? Figuring out what that is, all right? Yeah, for most people, you got to want to know what's wrong, right? So what is God? I'm not sure. I'm reading off a bullet point I made. I'm not sure why I put. I know why I put this next part, but I think it makes more sense to say. So what is God? God is the spirit of truth. All right. We're all born in sin, meaning we're born into messed up families. But more so, now that I bring up this lie thing, I think it's more so we're born in sin. We all believe in lies. The people who crucified Jesus, they believed in a lie, right? That he wasn't God's son, so they wanted to kill him. But he was, and he done awesome things and miracles, and all he did was preach God tenements, which of course we'll get into it in another episode about how to live your life probably. But to go out and forgive. But we're all born in sin. That's what they're talking about, right? We are fundamentally not good people. We just aren't. If you're born through the woman, you're not a good person, right? That's why you have to be born of the Father. Even God don't love you the way you are. You have to want him, because that's real love, right? Real love is using your free will to obey, or I guess using your free will to provide, right? That's love. If you provide for somebody, you love them, right? It's mainly men providing for women, because that's the order, right? As God provides for man, man provides for women, women will provide for children. But going opposite of that order, right? The children has to obey the woman obeys the man, and the man obeys God, as the man obeys God. All right, but we're still talking about what is God. God is definitely a spirit. He's a spirit. Right? I believe he's the spirit of truth, since Satan is the spirit of lies, right? But he's also this idea of consciousness. Check out the mind-body problem. Do a little research on the mind-body problem. It still hasn't been solved to this day. But what's the connection between our mind and our body? Why can I just think about moving my hand and it moves flawlessly, right? Even sometimes in reverse, your body moves before your mind can catch up to it to figure out what's it doing, right? It's not connected the way we think. What connects that? I don't know. But the same thing with consciousness, right? Our mind is super special. And Jordan Peterson also lays this out in his biblical lectures. Like, he thinks the first stories is representing human consciousness for the first time. Like, what do we see when we wake up? Right? And you can do this too. Think about when you were born. Like, what do we see when we get here? You don't need to know how cars were made, where how buildings were made, how society functions. You wake up and all this stuff is already here, essentially given to us by God. That's what the creation story is telling us, right? And it's like, well, God created the heavens and the earth. All this stuff was just already here, right? And then we woke up. And Jordan Peterson also mentions, he's a smart guy, but he also mentions he doesn't even think the universe could exist without the idea of consciousness, right? A mind, something to perceive it. None of this even matters if nothing's here to perceive it, right? So the universe essentially could even only exist or be a universe if there was a unifying or just an initial consciousness to conceive the universe. Think about, and the universe isn't random. Think about the fine-tuning argument. You want to look that up too. These are all philosophical debates made in the secular spheres too. The fine-tuning argument, it's very clear that this world was set up for the perfect conditions for us to live in, like the oxygen levels, the fact that where the earth stand in relation to the sun and how it moves around the sun. Like if it was even a little bit closer to the sun, just a little bit, this whole planet would burn up. If it was a little bit closer, I mean fractions away from the sun, this whole planet would freeze, right? It's like it's fine-tuned. All right. Think about if you go to Mars, right? If we actually get to Mars, and the first thing we saw when we got there, besides all the desert, is a microchip. What's the only conclusion you can make? That there is intelligent life on Mars, because a microchip cannot be created naturally like that. That is a human creation. Technology creation. Humans can create two things, by the way, which I think is super cool. We really only create art and technology. It's super cool. But in the beginning, the Bible is the beginning of human consciousness, creation. Like that's what I just said. But I think that the concept is cool in itself. It's like essentially it's given to you by God because it's just here. It's literally just here for you. Out of thin air. And like we could trace, like God would tell us, like if you want to know how it's made, we'll tell you. That's why he gave us science too. He was like, you want to know what's going on, I'll tell you. You just have to ask and he'll provide. But that's that. God is the greatest consciousness, and he has a way he wants us to act. That's 100% true, and it's laid out in the Bible. Okay, and the thing with the Bible is, which is why this is Bible study, no Bible. It's not that I'm never going to quote the Bible or use the Bible. It's just people put too much emphasis in the Bible. God already wrote all this in our hearts. So that's why when you hear this stuff, people who are really seeking and they go like, that makes so much sense. It feels like you're remembering because it's already inside of us. It really does feel like you're remembering, like, oh yeah, this is right and that's clearly wrong. Like but sometimes you just have to hear it from somebody to wake up your consciousness, I feel like. But God definitely has a way he wants us to act, and I think what religions are groups of people who believe this is how God wants us to act. Where Christian religion dropped the ball is we stopped talking about that. We really did stop talking about how God wants us to act. And we let the left, mainly, and women argue about, well, this is what God made, and this is like, no. Like you're the last person I'm going to listen to about God, because you're a godless person. You don't even believe in the Bible. Ask them, do they even believe in the Bible? But they'll argue with you about the Bible constantly. It's like, that's why you don't argue with Satan/women. Same thing. Because Satan is definitely the woman's god, but God is the man's god. Yeah, he has a way he wants us to act. And people think free will is like you choosing your own actions. No, free will is you choosing who you want to serve at the basic level, because you never chose your own actions. Think about it. Really sit down quietly. Stop putting stuff in the background. Like sit quietly and think to yourself, like, why do I believe the things I believe? Why am I doing the things I'm doing? It's because somebody Somebody told you, right? They planted the idea in your head, like, oh, you should. You're like, most preachers are called by their mama, like, oh, you should start a church, and you're like, yeah, I should start a church. Like, it wasn't your idea; somebody told you that, right? Or a spirit has come over you, and you feel like you're doing things you don't want to do. That's what addicts feel. I To different things. When you make alcohol your god, for example, if you're an alcoholic, which you're not an alcoholic, it's just there's a spirit controlling you to make you drink. If you don't want to drink, you shouldn't drink, right? But we don't choose our actions, but you do get to choose who you follow. And that's why when you choose to follow God, you're saying, I love God more than anything else, which is just the truth, the spirit of the truth, and I'm going to follow the truth to the end. Right? And whatever the truth is, it has to be good for you, because even if it's technically bad for you, right? Truth hurts or whatever, but it's like, now you know, so you can make a better choice. That's the whole point, right? About choosing your own actions, I have an exercise I like to do. Try to make yourself happy. Go ahead and try it without doing anything. Sit down and just make yourself happy. You can probably make yourself mad if you sit down, because that's Satan. But like, just try to sit down and make yourself happy. Yeah, right? And then think about this question. Do you choose to give yourself bad thoughts? All thoughts are all lies from Satan, right? God don't work that way. He's not giving you all of these thoughts, right? Where do thoughts come from? And some can't be good, because if you can make yourself have good thoughts, you would do that all the time, but you don't, right? You get bad thoughts. Where do they come from? It's a spirit, right? And then my last point here, which I already said, but it mentions free will, because you talk about what is God. God gave us free will. God created us, right? He's all powerful, all knowing. He knew what we were going to do with this. But he's given us the chance to come back to him, the ability to come back to him. But free will is your ability to choose who to follow. I would say follow God, because there is nothing on this earth that is going to give you peace. There is nothing on this earth that is important. All right, it's all going to go. Civilizations have come and gone all through history. It's all going to go. Right? The only thing that's eternal is a spirit. And it's the spirit that's working through all of us, good or evil. All right? Some people choose to follow evil. There are Satanists in this world, which is mind-blowing to me, but some people are born for that. And maybe it's good that they're born for that, because they're going to make the people who follow God stronger, because those are the challenges you have to overcome. You can't grow as a person unless you go through challenges. The only way you can have good is if there's bad to compare it to. The only way rich people can exist is if there's poor people to compare it to. Alright, but that might be enough for my Bible study, no Bible. The idea is, these are just my ideas, but I want people to question these things, and that's why I would do it live, and I could answer those questions. But God bless you. God bless the world. I just stole Anomaly's outro, but I like it a lot. Have a good day.